The next topic is using data flow diagrams or DFDs in Business Process Reengineering or BPR. When we say Business Process Reengineering, the basic idea behind is, improving and reimagine the process and try to speed it up. And why we need to re-engineer the business process. Of course, to redesign the process to try to make it faster and to try to make it better with the same amount of resources and people with exact same thing. To illustrate the usefulness of data flow diagram in Business Process Reengineering, let's look an example from Michael Hammer and James Champy, the author of the book Reengineering Corporation. Hammer and Champy use IBM Credit Corporation as an example of a firm that successfully re-engineered its primary business process. IBM Credit Corporation provides financing for customer making large purchases of IBM computer equipment. IBM job is to analyze deals proposed by salesperson and write the final contracts governing those deals. According to Hammer and Champy, IBM Credit Corporation typically took 6 business days to process each financing deals. The process worked like this. Step 1. The salesperson called in with a deal. The call was taken by one of the people sitting around a conference table. Whoever received the call logged it and wrote the details on a piece of paper and carried the paper to a second person. Step 2. The clerk encoded the data in a computer system and checking the client's creditworthiness, which means they look for the salesperson's ability to borrow money. This person then wrote the details on a piece of paper and carried the paper along with the original documentation to a loan officer. Step 3. The loan officer modified the standard IBM loan agreement for the customer. This step involved a separate computer system from the one used in the Step 2. Step 4. Details of the modified loan agreement along with the other documentation, were then sent on to the next station in the process, where a different clerk determined the appropriate interest rate for the loan also involved its own information system. Step 5. The resulting interest rate and all of the paper generated up to this point, were then carried to the next stop, where the quote letter was created. Once complete, the quote letter was sent via overnight mail back to the salesperson. So, only reading about this process makes it seems complicated, so we can use the data flow diagram to illustrate how the overall process at IBM Credit Corporation. So now we can use the data flow diagram to illustrate the overall process at IBM Credit Corporation. Here's the data flow diagram of IBM Credit Corporation primary work process before BPR. And now let's apply business process reengineering with IBM Credit Corporation. Here's how it looks now. After applying BPR or business process reengineering, the resulting process is much simpler and cuts down dramatically. IBM Credit Corporation increases the number of contracts it can handle by 100-fold, which means IBM can handle 100 times more work. How about Oracle's process modeler and functional hierarchy diagrams? Aside for data flow diagrams, Oracle's process modeler and functional hierarchy diagrams are also the two methods by which a system's process can be presented. Oracle's process modeler. Here's how Oracle's process modeler looks like, it based on Husierberger's inventory control system. Note that the activities in the figure are grouped into 4 categories, the names of which are listed in the leftmost column in the process diagram. The categories are labeled loading dock, inventory control, accounting, and inventory reconciliation. This picture is also done with the same process model and system, but in graphical format which tend to view and understand much easier. What are the differences between Oracle's process models and data flow diagrams? In Oracle's process models, has processes, flows, organizational units, but not external entities. Unit ownership of processes, data flows and data stores. No detail of data in flow or store. No numerical hierarchy. External triggers. Can be animated with time parameters, run programs. Most useful in strategy and pre-analysis phases of the life cycle. While in data flow diagrams, have processes, flows, external entities, but no organizational units. No ownership concept. Show attributes of flows and stores. Numerical process hierarchy. No external triggers. No animation, time, external calls. Most useful in requirements structuring subphase of analysis. Next method is functional hierarchy diagram or FHDs. This picture also represent the Heusier-Berger's inventory control system. Functional hierarchy diagram or FHDs focus on the functions performed on a business and how they are related to each other. Note, each of the different areas is represented in a different color, for clarity. The red circles by the root functions and by each of the second-tier functions are switches that allow you to expand or contract the display. This capability is convenient for diagrams that include many functions, as contracting a display saves space and makes diagrams simpler and easier to understand.